Hello everyone, I'm Kyle Burdett with McGraw-Hill Education, and today I'm going to be doing a very brief overview of McGraw-Hill's Connect. So the reason that we're doing this for CTU is because you are using a Connect course that we have mapped to your learning outcomes for HSS 121. So that's the course that we're going to be using to walk through today's example. But first, let's log in. So you'll need to go to mcgrawhillconnect.com, and I suggest that you bookmark it because as instructors, that's where you're going to be logging in every time. Then you're going to have your username and password. Typically, your username is going to be your instructor email account. Okay. So when you log in, it's going to take you to the landing page, and this shows all of your Connect courses. So if you're teaching Connect in some of the other subject areas, you'll have mini courses like I do. But if you're just teaching HSS 121, that's the only course using Connect at CTU for you, then this will be the only course you see. Okay, so we'll go in. And WOW is going to be sending your students registration information, so that shouldn't be something that you have to provide them. But if they ever ask you about where they need to go to register, just know that the section web address is right here, and if you provide that to the student, it walks them through how to register for the course. So there are 3 tabs in Connect, and I'm going to briefly go over the Library and Reports tab, but just know that we're going to live mostly on this Home tab. This is where you're going to do most everything. The Library tab has one nice feature for instructors, and that's one-click instructor resources. So if I go to Library and then click on Instructor Resources, you'll see that all of the book-specific material, so PowerPoints, Test Bank, Instructor's Manual, Asset Maps, Image Bank, it's all available right here, and it doesn't take you outside of the website. It's just point and click, and it'll download to your machine. Okay. So then the other thing that I want to talk about is reports, and we're not going to go through all of the reports, but I'm going to show you the reports that I think that you're going to utilize. So I'm going to slip over into this demo site and show you a couple of examples of the reports. So first, the section performance. This is just a snapshot bar graph of how your students are doing. It's color-coded to show the average grade, so if it's 70 or above, they're going to be green. If it's between, I think, 61 and 70, it's going to be in the yellow, and if it's failing, they'll be in the red. But if you scroll over this, you're going to get information about how many students have actually submitted the assignment, and it's a really quick way to see how your class is doing. Okay, so that'll be on the Reports tab at the very top of the page. The standard gradebook report that you'll run is assignment results, and when you run this, you'll just select all the assignments and click Run. It's going to give you the grades for the students in your course, and just keep in mind that if you click on Export to Excel, that you can directly export that to your Excel gradebook. Okay. Another report that I think is really useful is student performance reports. Okay. So if you click on this, you're going to be able to get information about how your students are doing at the assignment level, and it's actually going to tell you how they're doing per attempt, and it's going to give you the amount of time that they spent on each attempt. And this is actually an outdated graph. Now we have a new column over here that says the total amount of time that the students spent per attempt and then in the assignment as a whole. And you can export this to Excel as well. All right, and then the final report that we're going to talk about for this quick demo is At-Risk Student Report. This is something I suggest you run at the beginning or at the end of every week. It's an online engagement report, so it's going to factor in a bunch of things and then give each student a number between 1 and 10. So what's factored in is how long your students are logging in to Connect, are they starting their assignments on time, are they finishing their assignments on time, how long they're spending per assignment, and then what the final grade is. So it takes all those factors into effect, and it computes a number between 1 and 10 and assigns it and color codes it to your students. So red is at risk, and that's below 4. Between 4 and 6.9 is in the yellow, and then 7 to 10 is green, and that means they're good. So the reason that this is a really useful report to run is because if you've had a student that's been in the green or the high yellows for the first 2 weeks of the course, for example, and then you see that they're at the low end of the reds, that's a really quick way to note that a student may be at risk and something may be going on outside of class that you need to address before the student withdraws. All right, so now let's go back into the actual Connect course and take a look around. So we've created this Connect course with your HSS 121 outcomes in mind. So you'll see that we've broken everything down into the weeks. So we've got 5 weeks, and each week's going to have a very similar structure. You're going to have your LearnSmart assignment, which is the personalized study tool, and these will go into a little more detail at the very end of this. Then we'll have a practice assignment for your student. We'll have a homework, and then a test. And that's generally going to be the format for each of the weeks. Okay? With the exception of the final exam, which is obviously going to be in week 5, but I've put that in its own folder. All right, so one thing to note here as we start to walk through this page is if you ever have any connect messages, this will turn red, and these are just going to be like downtime notifications. They're pretty rare, but they'll let you know a few weeks in advance so you can plan around it. You can always see what the student would see by clicking on Student View. Alright, so when I click on that, you'll see that it gets a lot cleaner over here. So your students don't have access to change dates and to move assignments around, so they will only see the upcoming assignments over here. So it's a lot cleaner view on the student side. I'm going to go back into Instructor View. Alright, so you'll see here in the section info that you've got your instructor information. If you ever want to change this or say add a picture, put your office hours, your email in, you can just click on this widget and then you'll select Edit Instructor Info and you can change everything in there. Alright, so working down this right hand side, we've got the Essentials of Medical Language. This is the ebook. So in order to access the ebook, you'll just click on it from right here, and your students will have full access to this as well. And it'll take just a second for this to load. But some things to keep in mind are this ebook is going to require internet access. I don't think of this always as a complete replacement for the standard textbook, but it's just another way for your students to access it. So by default, I was put into Chapter 6 because that's where I left off, but I'll show you how to navigate this ebook. You can go to the Book Contents drop-down, you click Table of Contents, and you can actually jump directly into a specific chapter. So I'll click Chapter 2. And it's going to take me right into Chapter 2. If I click on these blue arrows, this is going to take me section to section. So if I click the right arrow, it's going to take me to 2.2. If I click it one more time, I go to 2.3. I can jump directly into a page. So let's say I want to go to page 33. I type that in and click Go. And it takes me right to page 33. When a student is reading in this ebook, just keep in mind it's like a really long scroll. And we've got page breaks noted on the left-hand side. So as I scroll down, it's going to tell me every time I go into a new page. And that's so if a student is reading the ebook and then they pick up a physical book later on, they'll know exactly where they left off. Let's talk about some other student features really quickly, though. We've built in a highlighting and a note-taking system so that your students can make highlights in the ebook and take notes. So let's say this is really important to me as a student. I just select the text, then I click the highlight button. I select a color. I'm going to go with purple, and I click Add Highlight. And now this is highlighted for me. I can do the same with adding notes. I click on the note icon, and then I click Add Note. I'll move this over. Whoops. I'll move this over into the right-hand side after I type in remember to study this. Okay. I save it. Now I'll move it over here. And while this is a nice feature, it's going to be tough for the student to remember exactly where they put all these notes and all these highlights. So they scroll up to the top of the page here. There's a button that says My Notebook, and if you click on this, it's going to take the student to all their notes and all their highlights, and it's broken down by chapter. So it's a great way for them to study right before their higher stakes exams. Another feature, let me go back to the reading section. Another feature that students can use is the ebook search. They just click in this field and they can search. So let's put in heart and click Go. And this is going to find every instance of the word heart in the ebook. So it looks like 46 times it comes up, and I can always jump right in to that portion of the ebook. Alright, so that's the reading area. We've also embedded videos on the back end here, so if a student's reading in Chapter 2 and they want to see what videos are available, they can click on Video, and it looks like I've got a couple here for Chapter 2. So we've got Cells and Tissues. I would just click on this and play it from here.
The cell is the structural and functional unit of the body. Together.
All right, so that's a nice resource that's built in for your students. They can also look on the Images tab, which will show them high-res versions of all the images that they see in the ebook. All right, so I'm going to go back to the home page, and I'll actually walk through a couple of these assignments so that you can see how you can view an assignment as a student. So I'm going to click into week 2, and I'll just click on this practice assignment. All right, so I've opened it, and I want to view this as a student. So I click Student Assignment View so I can see what the student experience will be. So it's going to load up. It's going to give me instructions. I say, OK, I got it. And now this is treating me just like a student. So you're going to see that they have access to the ebook, and they can print, because this is lower stakes. This is just a practice assignment. But there are 124 questions on this assignment, and the first one says, listen to the pronunciation and then type the term in the text box.
Acromioclavicular.
All right, so I would just type in whatever I think the correct answer would be, and then I say score this question, and I'm going to get immediate feedback. So I got an incorrect answer, but it tells me what the right answer would be. All right, and then I can just click close and return to instructor view. And I click on the home tab, and this will take me back to the home page. So that's how you view the standard assignments. In order to view LearnSmart, which is our personalized study tool, you will need to go into Student View. All right, and then you can just click on any of the LearnSmart assignments. So I'm going to give you a brief description of how LearnSmart functions as soon as it loads. All right, so it comes up, and by default you may be pulled into SmartBook, which is LearnSmart coupled with an eText, but at any time if you want to get back into the standard LearnSmart view, you'll see the option to go back to Classic View, go to SmartBook. So you can change all that down here on this tab. Okay, but I was pulled into this Chapter 3 assignment for LearnSmart, and keep in mind that we've already scaled back and scoped this assignment to meet the needs of your HSS 121 course, so it's already good to go for your students. So the student just comes in, they click Learn, and they will be presented with some questions that tie into this chapter of the textbook. So where are sweat glands located on the body? The student is going to be asked to gauge whether or not they think they know the answer. Let's say I'm unsure. Okay, and then they're going to answer. I'm going to say all over the body, and I'm correct. So when I click OK, you'll see that this 57 items goes down to 56. All right, so the next question says, skin is a physical blank against foreign substances. All right, and I got that one wrong. So I get a little instant feedback. I typed in protective layer. It says barrier. So when I click OK, you'll see that nothing goes out of my topics left to covered. Still has 56. And we'll answer one more question, and then I'll explain to you how LearnSmart personalizes for each student. So it says true or false, the outer layer of the epidermis is called keratin. All right, and I was wrong. So at this point, let's stop. So you've seen that we've got a couple of different questions. We've taken 3 questions, and we've had a couple different question types. So the way that this works is LearnSmart is a sophisticated program that is going to expose your students to the core content as they work through this. But this 56 items that your student has left to cover in this assignment, they're not set in stone. So based on how a student is performing, if they've got a grasp of the core content, we'll test them. We'll start to bring in some of the higher concepts of the chapter, some of the more contextualized components, to see if they're ready to take their learning to the next level. Now on the flip side of that, you've seen a bunch of different question styles as well. And that's because we're going to test the students over and over with different question types to make sure that they have a mastery of the core content. So some of the easier question types you're going to see are true, false, and multiple choice. Then we've also got matching, labeling, and multiple right answer. And then the toughest question types are going to be fill in the blank. And I'm always asked if spelling counts, and the answer to that is absolutely. In medical terminology, spelling or pluralizing is going to be a deal breaker. If I misspell a word, it's going to say, it'll turn yellow and say, we think that you're onto this, so good job, but you have to know how to spell this correctly because it's mission critical. So by utilizing the different types of questions and exposing the students to the core content in various different ways, we're able to personalize the program, and it actually begins to learn a lot about your student as they work through. So the other factor here for LearnSmart is, since this is an all or nothing grade, we just want your students to complete this. It's going to either be a 0% or 100%. But we have built in a gaming function so that the students will take this piece, the metacognitive, I know it, think so, unsure, or no idea piece. We want them to take that seriously. So we've added in an optional gaming piece, and the students can click on the gaming function over here. They can disable it, or they can compete against everybody in the country, or they can compete against others just in their section. And the way that you're awarded points on this is plus or minus 0 for no idea, plus or minus 50 for unsure, plus or minus 60 for I think so, and plus or minus 70 for I know it. So that's how we've built in a gaming function for your students to utilize as they work through their modules. All right, so I'm going to close out of this. I'm going to show you as an instructor one last piece that I think that you're going to find some value in. So we want our students to complete their LearnSmart assignments before they have their face-to-face class time. But I want to give you as an instructor a way to dig into the LearnSmart reports and find out how your students are faring and really change your face-to-face time. So if we go into the reporting tab, down here at the bottom, it says LearnSmart, and you'll click on this, and you've got all these reports that you can run about your students. But I'm going to touch on two reports in particular, the missed questions and the most challenging learning objectives. All right, and when I open these up, you're going to get a lot of data about where your students are struggling. So if I click on most challenging learning objectives, this is going to give typically the 5 areas that your students show that they are struggling with the most as they work through their LearnSmart homework. Okay, so this is a great way for you to adjust what you're going to cover on your face-to-face time. Also, we've got this missed questions report, and this is something that I advise instructors to actually pull up in front of their students. Say, okay, thank you for doing your Chapter 1 homework on anatomy of word construction. I ran the frequently missed questions report in LearnSmart, and it says that these are the 10 areas where we're struggling the most. So you can actually just click on Try Probe, and it will open the question, and you can walk through it as a class. So no more soliciting areas of struggle from the quiet students or the virtual students that don't ever respond in class. You've got it all right here at your fingertips, and this is a really great way to change your in-class time together. All right, so that was a very quick overview of utilizing McGraw-Hill's Connect for HSS 121. I hope that it was helpful, and I wish you luck in your upcoming courses.